In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut a simple queen Anne neckline corset. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video.
You're going to need your pattern paper and you're going to mark out your shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and your top length, blouse length. Because I added 2 inches after my waistline, I just want to give a slight bask at that part. Next, you're going to take your tape and you're going to measure your shoulder circumference divided by 2. You're going to add ½ inch because you're going to add sleeve to it. From that point, you're going to come down by 1 inch and you're going to slant it upwards for your shoulder slant or shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline the line that I have at that point. Next, I'm going to place my tape and I'm going to mark my chest line. To get your chest line is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. And I'm going to go ahead to make a straight line at that point. Next, I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to draw a straight line connecting down there. Then the next step you're going to take is to shear whatever you have here into 2. And to do that, I'm going to fold my tape into 2 and I'll go ahead to mark. So from that point, I'm going to come in by half because I'm going to draw my armhole curve. But before I draw my armhole curve, I'm going to place my tape at my chest line and I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. So you're going to connect from the upper part to that middle and down to your chest line. So next, you're going to mark your dart intake, and to mark that is your nipple to nipple point divided by 2. You're going to mark at your under bust, at your waist, and at your top length. So we are going to extend this also to the bust later. So what I'll do is to place my ruler and I'll connect that lines that I have made. So next is to mark your dart intake here. I'm going to mark 1 inch at both sides. So for a plus size, you're going to be marking 1.5 inch at both sides. So I'm also going to mark that at my under bust. So I'm going to take my ruler place and I will connect those lines. I'm going to connect it at both sides. So after connecting it, what I'll do is to go ahead to extend that my nipple to nipple line up to my bust and also to my chest line. And I'll take it upwards after my chest line also. So from my bust line, you're going to take it down to your under bust this way, and you're also going to do this for this side. So you can go ahead to make use of your freehand sketch, or you can make use of your French curve to connect it at both sides. After connecting it, I'm going to go ahead to pick up my marker and I'm going to outline my curve or curve at this point. So after that, from my chest line, I'm just going to go in by half. So you can decide to go down by half from your chest line if you want to review your cleavage, but I'm just going to go in by half. And from that point, I'm going to place my French curve and I'm going to go ahead to connect it to my under bust. You can also go ahead to make use of your freehand sketch if you're good at that. I'll go ahead to outline it with my marker to make it more visible. So next, I'm going to place my tape and I'm going to mark about 1.5 inches. So you can go ahead and mark 2 inches. It just depends on what you want actually. So at that point, I'm just going to make a point at that 1.5 inches. So from there, I'll just place also and mark my 1 inch dart at this side. And I'll also place at this point and I will go ahead and mark my 1 inch dart for bust tightening at the upper part. So I'll place the straight part of my French curve. You can go ahead to use your ruler to do that. That point shouldn't be too curvy at all so that you won't have difficulty in joining your cup. So I'm going to connect it down to my bust line, and going down to the other part, I'm also going to connect it down to your bust line. So when you're connecting at the bust line, make sure you don't have a sharp edge to avoid difficulty while joining also. So next, I'm going to go ahead and use my marker to outline what I have at both sides. So I'll go ahead to outline this mark that I came in by half, and next I'll be drawing my cup. By drawing your cup, you're just going to take note, because any shape you have at that point is how your corset is going to come out on top. So after connecting that side, I'm going to connect the other side. So while connecting the center point, I'll make sure this part is not too slanty, so that while the both sides will meet while joining. So next, I'm going to outline the parts that I have drawn out. To draw my cup for the other side, I'm going to place my tape, whatever I have in between this line and my armhole curve, I'm going to divide it into two. And from that place, I'm going to place my cup and I'm going to connect to my under bust. Now it's time to connect my cup. So while connecting at this point, you're going to bear in mind that your yoke is a pin and neckline, and you're not supposed to make your cup at this point too curvy. If not, your yoke might not relax very well on your body after sewing it. So first of all, I'll go ahead to draw out the shape that I want before I'll go ahead to use my French curve to connect it properly. So after connecting it, I'll go ahead to outline my marks with my marker. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave your comment or question at the comment section. Thank you. So now, to give this corset a 3-part effect, from my bust line, I'm going to come down by ½ inch and I'm going to make a mark. And on the other side of my cup also, I'm going to mark ½ inch. So I'm going to place and connect from the center down to that ½ inch point that I made. So after doing this also, I'll go over to the other parts. I will place my French curve or ruler, whatever you're using. You're going to place it, connect it from the center down to that ½ inch that you marked at the side of your cup. So after doing this, you can see that you've achieved the 3-part corset effect as easy as anything. So by the time we cut this open and merge it, you're going to see it very well. So the next thing we're going to do is to insert my body circumference before we go over to draw out the neckline. So I'm going to place my tape and I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to mark. So at that point, I'll go ahead to mark that intake I have at the top part of my corset, and I'll mark my 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Whatever I have, I'll extend it to my chest line. So this 1.5 inch sewing allowance is not a constant. You can go ahead and use whatever you want to use. At my under bust, I'm going to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll go ahead and measure the 2 inches that intake, and I'm going to replace it. After doing that, I'm going to mark my 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Going down to my waistline, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 and measure the dart intake plus my 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So what I have on my waist, I'll be taking it to the top length of my dress. Reason why is that this part of the dress is not going to reach the hip side. It's not going to touch the hip because it's just 2 inches away from my waist, and we're going to create a busk, a slight busk there, so there's no need. I'll just mark whatever I marked on my waist down there. So next, I'm going to take my ruler, connect from my under bust down to the bust line, take it down to the waistline, and from the waistline I'm going to take it down to the top length. Now, to give my dress a slight busk, I'll be coming in by my sewing allowance, which is 1.5 inch. The reason why I'm doing this is so that the waist of the back and the waist of the front will meet while sewing. So while trying to draw my waistline down to that 2 inches I marked, I decided to reduce it by 1 inch. So I'll mark that 1 inch for my waistline, and I'll go ahead to make a straight line down to the other part of my corset. So after doing that, I just went ahead to cut it out. So from that 1.5 inches, I'm just going to extend it down to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to outline what I have, as simple as that. So coming up to the neckline, what you're going to do is I'm going to place my tape at the upper part of my pattern, and I'm going to measure 2.75 inches for my neckline, you're going to just measure it on your tape. You're not going to use 3 inches, but if you decide to use 3 inches, it is also okay for you to do that. After marking your neckline, the next thing you're going to do is to go down to your chest area, and you're going to place your tape. You're going to go ahead to mark 2.5 inches or 2 inches, depending on what you want at that part, and you're going to go ahead to connect. So I'm going to connect from the neckline down to this other part. So after connecting, this is what I have for my neckline. I'll go ahead to outline the armhole area of my dress, and this is my Queen Anne neckline with 3 parts corsets. Next, I'll be labeling my cup as A1, A2 and B1, B2. So at the lower part, I'm going to label as C1 meaning center and side 1 meaning side. I just have one piece for each side, so that's what that one stands for, and I'll label this as yoke. So at this point, the next step is I'm going to go ahead to cut all my pattern out, and I'm going to be joining my cup at the upper part to form the 3 parts corset. Also in this video, I'm taking this opportunity to announce that we'll be holding our online class from next month. So our online class for our bridal class and also beginner friendly corset class. So we'll be having about 4 classes. The first one we'll be holding is our bridal class, traditional bridal class and beginner friendly corset. Then the next one is our reception gown dress, and also another bridal class, how to make all this mermaid bridal dress for weddings. So I'll be posting that very soon on this channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments at the comment section. So after cutting out my pattern, this is what I have, and the next thing I will be doing right now is I'll be merging the upper part of the cup together. To do that, I'm going to place this plain paper beneath it, and I'm going to go ahead to use my tape to tape it down. So after that, what I'm going to do next is to go ahead to trace the shape that I have around it. So after cutting it out, this is what I have. So you can go ahead to use the first piece, or you can use this second piece to form your 3-part corset. So this is it. I'll go ahead and label it as 1. So you can go ahead to use this or the other one, but I'll just use my main pattern since I sellotaped it together and I still have the same thing. So this is what I have. So moving over to the back parts of this corset. So here is my back pattern. If you watch me draft my back pattern, I did the same thing. The only difference is that my back pattern stopped at my waistline. Next, to mark my dart intake, I'm going to place my tape, and all my measurements will be starting from my zipper line. So I'm going to place and mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'm going to mark it at my bust and at my waistline. So I'll place my tape and mark my shoulder to bust plus 1 inch. So after doing that, I'll place my tape and I'll connect the line, drawing a straight line. Now for my dart, I'll be marking 1/2 inch on both sides. After marking it, I'm going to connect it to that shoulder to bust point plus 1 inch. So I'll be moving over to the neckline, and I'll go ahead to mark the 2.75 inches I used. So you can use 2.5, 2.75 or 3 inches. So I'll go down by 1.5 inch and I'm going to connect and draw my neckline. So from that point, I'll place my tape, come down by 1 inch, and from that 1 inch point, I'm going to connect it down to these points at the back at my dart area. So you can go ahead and make use of your French curve if you have that also. So I'll go ahead and outline what I have at the neckline, and I'm going to label it as yoke. Next is to insert my body circumference, and all my measurement is starting after my zipper allowance. I'll mark my bust circumference, mark my 1.5 inch sewing allowance. I'll just add half in case I have shortage. And at the under bust, I'm going to mark my under bust circumference,
The dart intake I have, I will replace it because I'll be closing up my dart and mark my 1.5-inch sewing allowance. Going down to my waistline, I'm going to mark my waist circumference, mark the dart intake that I have at that point, and I'll go ahead to mark it, and I'll go ahead to mark my 1.5 sewing inch allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and I'm going to connect from the chest line to the bust, to the under bust, and down to the waistline. And here I have my pattern. To get rid of the bulginess at the lower part, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch and I'm going to extend it upwards. After that, my pattern is ready and I'll just go ahead to cut out what I have. So on the back part, I'm not going to cut out my dart. What I'll do is to close it up this way so that I'll just have one piece for my back, and I'm going to close it with my cello tape. So with this, my back pattern is ready.